Okay, good afternoon. This is my first reveal of one of my works. Sorry, I'm not very good at this. Um, ugh. Okay. So this is a model of a game character that I've been working on for about 6 weeks now. 5 weeks? Somewhere around that point. And I'm just going to show off a little bit of its rig real quick, just to any and all out there who care. So, as we can see, we've got the main controller here. Yes, there is some transform values on that. As soon as the binding skeleton is matched up to the rigging skeleton, which is there, I will zero that out and it will be ready to animate. So let's just start at the midsection and work up. I'll turn the joints on, because as I said before, the binding skeleton is not yet put up to the rigging skeleton. So we can probably just go ahead and hide the geo. As you can see, I've got IKs as my current active on the arms and legs. You can see the FK bones, which aren't transforming, which would be these ones and these ones. And that's moving all nice and dandily like we want it to. So I'll just zero that out. Numlock was on. And then we have our various torso joints, which are all meant for slight movement only in unison with each other. I'll do a little look at the geo if that's what you really want to see later, which is probably what you will. If you came for something, that's probably it. Then we have neck, which speaks for itself, and the head joint, which we can just rotate and move as necessary. Now all these joints on the back of the head are will be SDK'd to this controller, because if we turn polygons back on, there are various plates there that need to move in unison when the helmet comes off. So those bones will bring that up and allow it to have a realistic helmet removal animation. And on these little spikes here, there are different polygons, basic shapes, and they all separate and come down and go apart and glow. You'll see that better when it gets into engine, of which it is not yet. Then moving on to the arms, we've got the clavicle, which rotates as it should. You can't really see much of an effect without the bindings, but it should do everything it's supposed to do. And then we have our IK hands, which are IKs and behave as such. Got a little support joint on the elbow there to fix up its bending when the elbow bends. I haven't SDK'd that one yet either. The only SDKs that I've got set up right now are the ones on the feet, which we'll get to in a moment. Switching over. Now, most people have their IK-FK switch on a drop-down, and I had it like that as well. But as I was doing the feet, I found that it would be more effective to have it on a slider. Because, say I wanted to go from walking, where the hand would be doing very simple actions achievable with IK, like, for instance, just swinging back and forth as you walk. Say I wanted to switch from that straight into something like a punch. I could have the hands like that, then get the IK, get the IK straight into the punching position. Now let's say that's the position that we're punching from. We can go right to here, and we can slide the FK-IK into that punch, straight up from behind. It just makes for a smoother transition between IK and FK, and less noticeable in game. Sure, you could get the IK and the FK to the exact same position, but that's just a little bit tedious in my opinion. So, yeah. Back at the shoulder. Now it's really a little hard to tell, but this right here is an intake and air intake for the legs, which I will show you in just a moment. If you read the bio, they're mechanical. They do allow the character to levitate, and are also double as swords or blades, as you can probably see by the hard edges. And these air intakes basically do exactly what their name does. They open up, you can pull them down a little bit, and there's some prongs in there, just there, and yes, they glow and stuff, and it'll look better in engine than when the bind skeleton is attached to the rig skeleton. Down to the legs, just quickly, we have the exhausts, which do exactly the same as the intakes, except they just open, they don't translate. And yeah, this little bit here, this bottom part, slides open kind of like a jaw. Now to the legs, they're set up almost identically to the hands. I had a little bit of trouble with them, stupidly. I kept looking at them as feet, trying to rig them as feet, and that was kind of my downfall. I realized eventually that I could look at them as hands, with two very stubby fingers, because of the functionality of them. Now these are in IK as well, I believe. Yep, they're currently in IK mode, so I'll just grab this. Now, let's just say you were in a walk cycle or something, and you just had your feet out, because the feet do unfold. There's the heel, and there's the ball of the foot and the toe. There's no toe action. I decided not to waste any more polys on that, as few polys as it would have costed. I'm already over budget. But, yep, so we've got the heel and everything here. It moves by itself but it is parented to this. So you can move them as one, you'll just need to move the heel to wherever you want it to be. And then you've got your FK, which could be, say, in an attack position. Say you want to knee this guy and go into combat. And any animator knows FK is a lot easier for combat animations than IK is for combat animations. And then we go over to our shin and thwomp. And if we wanted to conform the feet back to this position in midair, we would just key both of these, maybe at 2 or 3 points, to simulate its floatiness, because they're not actually attached. They're supposed to levitate off the foot, off the ankle. Kind of a bit like Warden from Halo. Anyone who's familiar with Warden, he's got a bunch of floaty pieces everywhere. Basically that Promethean style. So, yeah. Just a little bit better for animation when the IK-FK switch is on a slider, in my opinion. And as normal, the IKs both have their pole vectors, just there and ready to go. The rig is identical on either side. Now, when I said I had an SDK set up, that was on a older version of this rig, where the heels had flat feet controllers, like they're supposed to, or in normal rigs usually have. And there was a primary controller around the outside, and this controller wasn't there. And the primary controller had an SDK that would bring the feet to a flat position, a standard flat position. And that was the groups above the controllers, but that was a very ineffective system because it messed with the parenting of the IKs in the bone structure, and it just overall was causing me so much grief. I eventually just decided to go with a basic controller system on the feet and have it zeroed out whenever I wanted it to come back, and move it down manually every time I wanted it to be feet mode. Maybe I'll put an SDK on here again that brings it down to feet mode and just never put a key onto that particular part. Like always press Shift E when you want it to rotate and Shift W when you want it to move. It's not the best system. This is my 5th rig that I've ever made in my time rigging. The 3rd rig I ever made was in year 1. Probably have a look at that earlier back if I do bother to upload any of that to ArtStation. First rig I ever made was just bones, and I didn't know anything about controllers back then. So yeah, I've come a ways. The last thing on the leg controllers are these controllers, which control the various moving parts of the leg. So this knee blade and these 2 prongs here, these are for the levitation. Well, supposed to be at least. They will retract and extend based on these. And that's about it for this rig. The fingers are set up with FK only. There's no IK on the fingers at all. I'll show a little bit of it off. We've got hand cupping. All the fingers have their various FK capabilities. And the IK controller just controls the hand. Or you could use the FK controller if you are in FK mode. And yeah, that's about it. I'll get those helmet SDKs happening so that I can get all those actions happening up there. And I'll get the bind skeleton, which is here, currently hidden, Shift H. Yeah, something else to note, they're all constrained to planes. So We will never get a anatomically wrong bend in any of them. So, yep. And the skinning is about done on most of the model. I've got a little bit left of the actual face, which is currently hidden. And I'll make the facial rig as well, so there'll be a little bit more there. I do have the beginnings of it happening. Currently it only has the jaw, because that's all you'll really need based on the mesh itself. Now, my budget for this project was 4,000 tries, and as you can see here, I've gone a little bit over on it. There was also a coat in the original designs that I'm sure if you've looked at, you would see. The coat is modeled. I have just not got it in because my teacher doesn't want to run through physics, and it's about 500 more polys that I can't afford. I was excused on the face and hair, which are about 2k each. I don't have the hair in this scene. I made the hair using a plugin called Geo to Maya Hair 2 that I bought for $50. I'm sure you could find the website on a Google search. It's a pretty popular app. That's my ArtStation that I'm going to upload this to. And okay, here's the node system for the FK and IK. Sure, anyone who knows their FK and IK knows what that is. There's a close-up. And that is my model. Before I end the video, I'll just run around the geo, give you a look at the topology, give you a better idea of what exactly is happening. Very budgeted hands, obviously. Kind of blew it out of the water on the rest of the model. Would have had a few more edge loops going across the top and sides. I'll give you a look at the face as well. The ears are pretty dismal. I tried to remove as much as I could from there. I do have a high poly somewhere, not in this scene though. And yeah, that's my work from this module at AIE. Thought I'd start my ArtStation on it. I'd give you a look at the coat, but it looks like I don't have a version of it in this scene. Same as the hair. So yeah, thank you for watching.